taken the liberty of reading your guys' bylaws. Found them interesting. And the CCNRs as well. And my question is, if the bylaws do not meet the times, which evidently they don't, because there's 3 people here that are affiliated, actually 4, by monetary means and also related, which in the bylaws, it's illegal. So how can we have the same thing going forward if it's not legitimate? If we're trying to be legitimate, how can we continue to do what we're doing? Even though I understand there's nobody that's willing to take the responsibility, maybe this shouldn't happen no more, and maybe the county should just step in and say, hey, let's do what we need to do. Because you can't have a legitimate organization with bylaws that you legitimately try to sue somebody if you guys aren't following the same bylaws. You can't have your cake and eat it too. So my question is, why are we continuing down the same path that we've already been?
Okay.
That's my question.
Thank you. Great. Does anybody have any comment on that?
I'd like to see your public comment.
Oh, yeah, any more public comment? Sorry, thank you.
I want to thank audience member Scott Bishop for bringing that point up. And to be more specific, you 4 officer candidates who just renominated yourselves to the same positions, you're all financially tied to one another. Mr. Motlow is the tenant of Mr. Ooms and Ms. Mendel together, so he's indebted to you financially to pay his rent to you. Essentially, you are buying his vote. The bylaws state the officers of the association shall be unrelated persons. Mr. Alexander, as I understand, is buying a property from Mr. Ooms and Ms. Mendel over a period of time. He's also indebted financially to you. Essentially, you're buying his vote on matters. The 2 of you related, possibly. You live in the same house. You own several properties together. The officers of the association shall be unrelated persons, it says in your bylaws. This is illegal seating. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone like to comment on any more public comment? All right, I'm going to close public comment.
I just want to say, when you filled out 700 forms, we don't need to move into all this mess here.
Form 700, to clarify, is
Conflict of interest.
it's a conflict of interest form. It basically reveals any financial, all of our financial interests within the County of Sacramento, period. So we all file that, if that's correct. Also, anything else?
No, I just feel like we don't need to get into all that. You know, there's all the time inconsistent stories made up. Simply, it's not all true. Say yes. You file 700 forms.
And we're not related as the definition legal.
We're not married. We're not related.
Well, it's a legal relation.
Yeah, it's a legal relation.
By the way, I would like to mention that for quite some time, Clarence Chu was chairman, and his tenant, Ernie Wester, was on the board of directors. And there was never a single complaint about that. So I feel a bit singled out here, quite frankly, that I am being targeted. Everyone was delighted that Ernie was on this board when his landlord was the chairman. So personally, I feel targeted. I just want to say that comment.
Well, First Chairman, I believe that the Union County Council has looked at this and looked at us.
well, two things. One, Rock owns his house. He went to a bank. I had nothing, nor have I had any that kind of a relationship with him. He owns it. He owns the bank. The bank is his partner in that building, not me. And as far as me having any influence over James doing or thinking anything, good luck with that. All right, moving on.
I'll make a
We-
motion to accept the slate as so described earlier.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept this year's selection of officers. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained? Wonderful. Okay, now, old business. C, we're down to C, review of fire safety issues and fire safety plan for the community. Well, we had the fire, we've talked about this before, we've had the whole fire department, 2 members of the fire commissioner and some firemen come to town. And they identified a lot of problem areas that need to be addressed, and we're just in the process of still addressing them. It's very difficult to get certain owners to do the work necessary to comply or to follow that which the fire department thinks makes it safer. So I don't know, beyond writing letters, which we do, we've had some success.
Repeatedly sent letters.
So we sent letters to the owners of the house that have these, some of them are real problems, some of them are just minor things, just debris between the buildings that if there was a fire, it could catch fire and bring it over. But, we're doing the best we can with that, so.
You think maybe part of the problem was the rainy season?
Actually-
Fire and all the rain?
That didn't help.
Yeah.
So it might be as it starts to dry out,
Yeah,
wise to rescind because it.
Yeah, actually, a couple property owners did respond to our letters saying that they would be proactive about cleaning up when, especially vegetation, when it dries up. Actually, people have specifically mentioned that. And also, we did notify Locke Waterworks about what the fire department, had some requests regarding their equipment that's involved with our suppression system. So they will be working on that too.
Anyone else? Anybody in the community would like to comment on how we're doing here with the fire safety issues? Oh, sorry, Adrian.
Just a comment, it'd be nice to see the fire department recommendations.
I'm sorry.
It'd be nice to see the fire department recommendations.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah.
it's coming.
Yeah, this-
In 2011, Ms. Brazel, Pat Brazel was sitting on your board at the time, and I proposed to the board that we should have a fire and safety prevention day annually in Locke. Ms. Brazel said that I should be the chairperson for that event. I took on the task. I got people in the community who said that they would come and have booths. I got Al the Wops to sponsor a steak dinner for a fire brigade game. I contacted 5 fire departments locally who said that they would come and participate. We were going to have fire drills in the town. We were going to have smoke detectors and fire extinguishers. And you folks here, 1 month before, would not sign the street closure permit that was necessary to have the event. You refused to sign it. You yelled at me, chased me out. Nothing has been done for fire prevention in this community. And there's still no smoke detectors in these buildings. There's no fire safety inspections. There's no fire evacuation map. There are no fire ladders, fire escape ladders or training for the people. When that fire happened on July 3rd of last year here in town, people ran around, they didn't know what to do. There was no plan. There's still no plan. They didn't even realize that there was a fire hose across the street until somebody spotted it and said, hey, look, here's a fire hose. We need a lot more proactive fire work in this town, fire prevention work. The whole town could go down in 20 minutes on a windy, hot day, we've been told. And you folks aren't doing enough to protect it.
Any comment from the board? Any other comments from the?
I would like to reiterate, in a past meeting, I don't remember what month it was, we talked about the July 3rd fire. And there was some things that were brought up by people in the audience that you guys said you would look at and address. And I'm sure as this gentleman right here can actually probably agree, there was a catastrophic event about 100 miles north of here in a town called Oroville. I was there. Mass chaos. Everybody had to evacuate. It was total chaos. Now, they've developed a plan. They have a plan in place, zones. You've got zone 1A, 1B, and so forth on out. I will say that you guys do got a unique little community. That fire was traumatic. If you are proactive to the situation instead of reacting to the situation, as there was all kinds of weird stuff going on the highways out of Oroville. Everybody was trying to get out. Why wait until the event happens before you try to correct the action? That's all I'm saying. So.
Okay. Any more public comment? All right, I'll close the public comment. Does any of the board members want to comment? Brock?
Well, a lot was said that is untrue once again. Comments made by the public, certain individuals. And I remember the fire chief of Walnut Grove, he didn't want us to have he said, I want you out of the buildings.
Right.
He goes, I don't want you fighting fires. He came in here and said that in the meeting. So there was also comments made that the thing was locked in the off position. We've gone over these fire things over and over.
Yeah.
We're on the right track. I don't see why we're rehashing old things. They mentioned fire things in people's buildings. You can't go into their house, and he even said it right there. So to me, it doesn't, we're on the right track. I think dealing with the professionals, giving us guidance, telling us to get out of the house, clean this up, is the right track. We got sprinklers on the building, there's pressure in them, it saved the terrible fire.
Yeah.
So,
great system.
hey, excuse me, this is the fourth time you've interrupted
That's it.
in the middle of it. I mean, I'm trying to talk, it's our turn, I didn't talk when you did. So.
That's it, I know.
Oh, wait, go ahead.
Well, I lost my train of thought, but
Sorry.
the point is,
Well, this is why
I know, we don't, disruption, if you lose your train of thought, you get upset, and this is what's all right. We've been doing this for 5 years, every meeting for 60 meetings, the same thing. And that's why you're here, sir. But anyway, we're just gonna go on a little longer, and hopefully this works out. So, go ahead, I hear what you're saying.
so I think we need to just take the course. Please listen to the professional that's trained in the field, that's been at our meetings and told us what he wants us to do and what he doesn't want us to do. We don't need to deviate from what he's telling us. So that's,
Not our local fire department, no, we don't listen to them.
so that's my feeling on it. We don't need to keep going in
Yeah, we
all
did
these
put
things.
together that list for us.
We did. Yeah, we have a
Yeah.
list. I should have described, I will get that list.
We can easily make that
you're now reminding me that the cover letter that was sent following the fire that went out to every property owner gave some specific, outlines, the kinds of things that the fire department is looking for. I mean, I don't have that right in front of me right now, but we've alerted property owners to the kinds of things that they have to do, keeping their sprinkler systems clear if they're on Main Street buildings, if they own Main Street buildings, vegetation and alleyways, all those things.
Cutting growth off the buildings.
They were listed and given to property owners, and then they were given out again. So we're really trying to make it clear, and we've also encouraged property owners to please inform all their tenants for the same thing. So
And we're very limited. We don't really have the power to make them put fire, smoke alarms in the house or a fire extinguisher. We just don't have that power. The county does to enforce rentals to have fire and smoke and carbon monoxide detectors. Also, as I recall, Martha created that whole day event and never told the fire departments. They both came to me, Left Cortland and Walnut Grove, and said, "What's this?" And they told me they wouldn't have the time to have a bucket brigade, which is a common thing in real small communities, to have kind of a community get together with firemen, and they have bucket brigade competitions between the fire departments. But they're all volunteers. They're all working. They're busy. So they all begged off. But as far as I recall, she created the whole thing by herself without any talking to them. Okay, so that was just a review. So moving on. Review and action. Common ground, general review and authorization for purchase of maintenance materials and tools. What's happened is the road, I was waiting for the rains to stop because as soon as the rains come, the roads just get wrecked. So what we did is we bought some road base, which is a little different. We got a different rock to fill the potholes. And I just want to let everyone know that we were buying that for the town as our regular maintenance. That's what we're required to do, is keep all these roads. We have, I don't know, quarter mile, how long is that? Quarter mile of little roads, if that, eighth of a mile of roads. But this back road was really hard for a while. It would stay good if the garbage truck didn't come through. The garbage truck destroyed it. They just pounded it to death. And it seems when you get a low spot, the water accumulates, softens the dirt beneath it, and then they pound it down until there's a hole. So I'm trying to work it even, and I'm getting, so we just bought 7 yards of road base, and I just picked up a great little tamper that hopefully, not this time, but I want to show it to everybody. It's a vibrating tamper to tamp down the potholes. So I'm going to fill it, tamp it down, fill it, tamp it down. It was really a steal of a price. It was less than half new. So, and it was new. It was like 5 hours on the thing. It looks like a new little tamper, little hand thing you stand behind to fill in the potholes all over town. Because certain potholes have been appearing for 5 years and I haven't been able to stop them. So I got a bulldozer which I back up and scrape it. I got a front end loader. I have a box scraper behind my truck, my tractor. But they're a lot better than they were. And usually when I fix them up in the spring, they go all summer. So once it dries out, it's really strong. So, yes.
Can you clarify that, do you take any money for the maintenance of your tractors? Do you get any money? Do you take any money for the fueling of that?
I do not.
Do you charge a fee to do the work?
I do not.
So you're doing this, including the machinery, including the fuel for this machinery, as a strictly volunteer basis?
I do. It's true. But I would like this little tool to be bought in the next meeting when we find out if it works. If it doesn't work, the vibrator.
Is it air or
No, that's a gasoline-powered vibratory tamper. You just push it and it tamps it down. And I'm told that's the answer to the potholes. So, but if it doesn't work, I'll just resell it and then forget about it. Right. So, any other comment by the board before I open it up to public comment?
then we don't have any action you want us to take
case we don't ask questions, I'll make a comment. I am curious if the garbage could be rerouted to the parking lot so they don't have to drive around town and pick up their garbage back behind Al's. I don't know how convenient that would be for anybody, but it's a suggestion.
Any more public comment? All right, I'm closing public comment. Since there's no action, there's no vote. Moving on lastly to new business. And this is interesting. This is we've been asked by a property owner at 1258 Gianetti. Gina? Christina.
Hello.
And Lowe Gianetti have asked us to reclassify their property from a commercial to a residential. This is an interesting property. I mean, I've been here almost 40 years, and that was for many years. The building we're talking about is on the top. As you leave town going south, you come to the top, the building was crashed into at the south end of town. It's that white building that used to have some canvas covers on it. She had covered the...
There were like drapes.
And drapes up.
Most recently?
Yeah. So that building. So she's asking to go from commercial to residential, which means it's a 50% reduction in her monthly fees from $120 to $60 and make it a residential. And it'll keep it a residential, so it'll no longer be a commercial property. It's zoned commercial, though, that particular building is. So,
It's so both,
well, yeah, but they all are residential
Yes.
commercial. Residential commercial, but, so, and does anybody have any feelings about this? The board?
Yeah, it seems like a reasonable request because in the 70s when I lived here, and before then even, it was never a commercial. I don't know when it became commercial long after I passed. And so it's always residential. I think that we could put a caveat into it if it ever does become a commercial business again, that we then boost it back up to the commercial rate. So that it is simply just, in this case, because there are two residential properties there, and they're not, they're just for people living, because they're not selling anything, that it should be the residential rate.
Anybody else? Any ideas?
I think it's a very reasonable request, and especially even now in light of this terrible accident, I believe they can't have the building occupied even.
I know.
So it is a loss in addition. And there hasn't been a commercial business there for years.
That's true.
It's very fair, and I like James's suggestion that if they do decide to rent
As a storefront.
a
public
commercial
business.
that they let us know, and it would be reverted back to commercial. You got a thought, Carl?
Yeah, I'm maybe the opposite of you guys. I hesitate to allow any of the commercial buildings to change. I get that there's a couple exceptions because of where they're at on the street, but I don't think it's a good precedence to let commercial buildings that are zoned that way start to go to residential. I mean, then you could get Main Street that's half residential. Someone might go, well, you let that building turn to residential, why not us? When there are a few exceptions, I get it because they're positioning on the street. I just tend to not think it's a great idea. They knew what it was going into it. Also, it's zoned that way through the county. Are they going to go and get their zoning changed?
It would have to.
I like how you're thinking, but what also occurs to me as you're saying it
Yeah.
is that in the CCNRs, with regard to Main Street, it's required that the first floor on Main Street be commercial. This building is a Levy Road building, that happens to be zoned for both commercial and residential use, as do the others on Levy Road. So I don't believe that this building, I checked, I'm not sure that this building would be included in terms of it being required to have commercial on that first floor. Right now, the
And their
is
first floor is
residential.
and their first floor is their second floor.
Right.
So,
I'm just seeing if, I can't remember if it's
Or
strictly.
should I open it up for public
yeah, we
comment?
can use.
White, public comment? Huh? Boy, my cough on this issue. Mark?
Why are different properties within Zone 5 and Zone 3 being charged different rates and have been all along? Different assessment rates. Is there a logical explanation for that? All along, including Mr. Adams' building. Mr. Adams' building does not even have sewage hooked up to it or electricity. He's being charged the full rate of commercial rate. Why is he being charged? It's a vacant building. It's boarded up. Doesn't even have sewage hookup. Why is he being charged a commercial rate? Why are other properties on Levy Road that are within the commercial zoning being charged a residential rate? Why is the agricultural zone in the back of Locke that has...
Order. Mr. Chairman, this isn't on
It's not
her
regarding.
decision on regarding that property or not.
It's true, you're getting off topic. Stay on this property, this particular
This
property.
specific property, that's what we're discussing.
Okay, I had a business in that specific property. It's zoned commercial, residential. So how is promoting the economic well-being of Locke, which is supposed to be one of your 3 charter statements to do, how would turning that into a residential zoning without going through the county to get it approved and then reducing their assessment, how would that promote changing that property back to strictly residential zoning? How would that promote the economic well-being of Locke? Store owners need other store owners too. There's too many vacant stores in Locke now. We need more activity to help each other.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to speak on this?